Hi, everybody. Welcome to Shivers and happy belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. For this week, we have my mother on as a guest. So, Cathy Grossbauer, owner of Souly Holistic, my mother, my spiritual healer, all of the above. So, Mom, Cathy, whatever background you want to give us, if you'd like to share.
Sure. Hi. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. It's kind of cool when your kid has a podcast and you get to be part of it. So I'm honored. Thank you. What is my background? So basically, I was a banker for a long time. That was my corporate career until I realized that that wasn't my passion. And in addition to, of course, the mom, the wife, the human stuff. Once the spiritual stuff started to come around, I realized that my passion was not in the human conditioning and just living my life day after day like Groundhog Day. So, fortunately, I have a husband who is very supportive and said, create it. And so we created Souly Holistic, and it is a metaphysical center that you can come to. We do have other people that rent spaces there. So there's massage therapists. It's kind of like a one-stop shop where you can come and get a massage, but then you can also do the energetic healing sessions and a number of different modalities that are offered there. So my background, again, all of the human, but leading into spirituality. So I'm a Reiki master teacher, archangelic light master teacher, integrated energy therapy master teacher as well, and instructor, master instructor, and crystal therapies. And so we do angelic Reiki. I am a shaman in Wheel 3 right now, so a full Mesa carrier. And have the Munaiki rights. And I mean, I could kind of keep going with some of the modalities, but just check us out on soulyholistic.com and you'll see all the background stuff. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So from the spiritual and spooky, that's where I sort of teeter that line. A lot of people end up asking me, how did I even get into the spiritual world? A lot of that credit is given to you, but I feel like we both kind of have that same story, but I don't think I've ever actually heard like what your answer is if people ask you that. So kind of the difference between religion to spirituality and that actual bridge for you.
So for me, I was born and raised into an Italian Catholic family, church all the time. I can remember sitting in church when I was 6 years old, long time ago. But anyway, sitting there and listening to the priest at the give the homily. And I looked up at my mother and I was like, that is not what Jesus would do. I mean, what 6 year old does that? And of course, my mom, I was right in church, and she leans down and shushing me after church, realized that my mother was in agreement with me, but she would never go against the Catholic. That was their generation, that was their programming. Um, Multiple times after that, just sitting in church, listening to the homilies, and I just would shake my head like, wow, the women need to honor their husbands. Where was the swap on that one where the husband honors the wife? So anyway, these are just little things that was always being taught fear associated with the religion. If you do that, you're going to hell. If you do that, you're going to hell. If you do that, you're going to go to hell. So it was always just constantly being fearful. I believed in God, and I still believe in God, but I don't think He's just the one. My personal opinion is we have many ascended masters, and they all kind of fit in that same hierarchy. So it's not for me just one that we report up to, so to speak. But as a kid, and all of my mostly childhood up to middle-aged life was all about fearing that I was being watched and I was being judged. Once the spiritual door started to open for me, I realized that it's not about fear. It's not about doing the wrong thing. Teach me what to do instead of teaching what not to do. That was my biggest thing, that my takeaway from religion versus spirituality. Religion is a structured organization that says, do this, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Where when you open up the spiritual door and and you trust and you feel that you are being surrounded by love and unconditional love, Um, we could go down a rabbit hole. My husband says, so you could just be the worst person in the world. And, when you die, you're still going home. And, my answer is yes. It is an unconditional love. It doesn't give you the right to do things wrong because there is some karmic energy that you'll have to pay for in the next lifetime, etc. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But the difference for me, religion versus spirituality, I think, in addition to the structure of the religion and teaching fear-based living, a lot in the head, a lot in the head, where the spirituality opens up, where you live from the heart and the soul, and you do the things that feed your soul, right? So, where's your passions? Where's your joy? How do you get out of the head and out of the judgment and trust that your spirit team and that you're being protected and guided and you have a soul contract? And when things happen, ooh, there's lessons and there's blessings.
Yeah, I mean, follow the rules. Just do what you're told.
Yes, follow your gut, trust your team. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, from the religious side, I have such a disdain because it is so much follow the rules, do what you're said, do what you're told, don't ask any questions. Just that's it. And so I think I'm very grateful that Father Varespi left Sacred Heart, which is the church that we went to. I mean, I guess you grew up Italian Catholic. Technically, we grew up Polish Catholic with all the pierogies and potato pancakes and stuff. But um, but yeah, I mean, Father Varespi was so great. And then Father Petro came in, and I'll take this till the day I'm dead. I believe in my heart of hearts that he has killed somebody before. It was just, I mean, being a part of his first mass it was like a magic show. It was like, what the hell is this? This is not what I believe in.
Right,
So, yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that that happened. And then you go back to the roots, and it's like, what was fun for us? Me, you, and my sister Michelle, and it was going to psychic fairs and looking at the crystals and stuff like that. And that wasn't out of belief. That was just out of like, oh, this is really cool.
right.
So to be able to lean into that now, the biggest thing that I want to get across is that like it doesn't have to be rooted in belief. Like, yeah, it's kind of helpful if you believe that you have guardian angels and a spirit team and all these other people in the ether who can help you. But for me, like the root of it is how to be the best version of yourself, how to get to this higher self, which is like the perfect timeline that you've made. And I think for anybody who is like me, who just loves stories and games, like this is the coolest game ever made. Like that's how could you not love that you made your character? You get to pick what you wear, you get to pick your personality traits. I mean, I think all the time of these people who are like, I didn't sign up to be here, I didn't do this. Like, I love The Sims so much that I would have come here just for the sake of all of that setup. Like that's really what I think. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, for me, when it comes to the fear, I think so many people who are now starting to realize, like, huh, we don't have to follow the rules. We don't have to do everything the same. There is so much fear that comes with that. Like, it's almost like leaving a cult. It's like, well, I have no family, I have no belief anymore. Where do I go? So, for you, from that Reiki perspective, I think that's kind of what you're known most for out of all the modalities that you do. How do you think that fear can be channeled into something that's good or productive, or what's your belief on that fear in general?
So the fear, FEAR, if you actually break that down, right? This is false expectations appearing real. So we have this false expectation. It's a judgment. It's an illusion of what you think is real. So fear typically is a lot about things that have things are to come. So it's the projection of things to come. In your world, like I could walk through a haunted house and, have everything be dark. And I'm expecting, right? Here's what I'm expecting is somebody to jump out. And if I walk around the corner and they don't, then I'm like, oh, it's a relief. But it's that same concept in your regular day to day life. If you have these false expectations that are appearing real, it has a lot to do with here we are. Here, we're here in the mind. Based on things in the past, we can make a lot of assumptions. And so we have these false expectations that, when you get into the world of spirituality, you can then realize that, wow, what am I projecting? Like, why am I projecting this? What am I manifesting? That would be the term in the spirituality world, right? The expectations versus the manifest. What am I manifesting? We always use a little analogy of when you go to a restaurant and somebody comes over and they give you the menu, and your waiter comes back and gives you water and says, "What can I do? How can I help you? What would I like? Yeah, what would your order be?" All right. Do you tell them everything on the menu that you don't want? Of course not. And why is that? Well, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Why wouldn't I just tell him what I want and they could go back and then they serve me exactly what I asked for? That's life, right? Why can't we order from the menu of life that says, speak into existence the things that I want instead of that fear based stuff? Because when we have fear, again, false expectations, you're assuming this then becomes where you're feeding the fear. So where your attention goes, energy flows. And so when that happens, the energy is now projected onto the fear based things, and that's what gets your attention. And that's what, like attracts like. So the energy that you put out is what comes back to you. So if you continuously have these false expectations or making these assumptions instead of just, again, getting out of here and getting into here, what does this feel like? What am I manifesting? How would I like to live my life? Do I want to live my life from fear based, scrunched up? Oh my gosh, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm feared. That will create havoc in your body versus living that life of and it's not all sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows. I know that. I've been there, done that. So I know, however, I can trust in the faith and spirituality side versus the fear-based side. So I hope that answered the question that you asked.
Yeah, yeah. Just from that Reiki perspective, like how does that help as well?
So the Reiki is the universal life force energy. It is not, I'm not the source of this energy. So I just open myself up to be a channel for this, right? So it's not Cathy that's out there doing the healing stuff. It is a true connection where we open ourselves up to be just a conduit of the Reiki energy, universal life force energy. It is a Japanese technique for relaxation. It goes into your body on a cellular level, and then your body is the one that decides where it goes and how to heal different parts of your body. So, as far as fear-based, Reiki can get you to that point where we start to open your third eye and your get your chakras in alignment. If you're familiar with that, that's the energy center of the body. It's called Ki, just like Tai Chi, Qi Gong. It's movement of energy within your body. This is Reiki, which is working on the key centers to get those key centers as high vibration as possible to the healthiest human being that you are.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was always very anti-Reiki. And
Yep.
now I'm a Reiki master practitioner thanks to you.
Yes.
But I really enjoy the puzzle piece aspect to it. Like the left hand side of the body is representative of your receiving energy, but also your feminine. Right hand side is outgoing, masculine. So let's say that you have an issue with the front right of your knee. That might be somebody in your present who is a male or masculine presenting who is preventing you from walking forward. Like,
Yep.
there's no belief that's needed in that. It's really just put the puzzle pieces together, figure out the root of the problem, and solve it.
Yep.
I'm eternal problem solver. So I think from the logical perspective, this is kind of an area that people can lean into more, especially with prescriptions and things like that, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think Reiki can definitely take and turn a lot of things around. And in terms of spirituality in general, thinking of like what the Bible might be, I would say that that would be like the four agreements. Would you agree?
Sure. Yeah. I'll back up a little bit when we talk about that, when you talked about the knee and stuff, the thing that is the human body keeps score. So the key centers, which were those chakras that we were talking about, when those emotions get stuck, fear, anger, frustration, guilt, shame, oh, goodness, good, guilt and shame and worry, are very big ones that attach to those lower chakras in the body. So if you're dealing with a lot of lower back pain and that kind of stuff, you may be kind of doing a little analysis of backside of our body as past experiences that our body holds on to. So in that situation, we're going to be creating issues in our lower back if we don't get rid of the guilt, the shame, and the worry, because the body keeps score. So the longer that we hold on to that, um, we create physical problems for ourselves. So when you asked, about the puzzle pieces, oh my gosh, why do I have such stomach issues? Why do I have such stomach issues? Well, what's your self-esteem and self-confidence look like, right? So each one of those have different emotions that are attached to the chakras, but the key is the body keeps score. Listen to your body and get out of the head and get into the soul. And again, I can't say that enough. Get into the emotions, get into the soul. The more that we could release the fear, the anxiety, the anger, the worry, the guilt, the shame, whoo, the human body raises its vibration. So yeah, so I'll go back to now. What was your question?
The Four Agreements.
The Four Agreements, yes. Four Agreements, my favorite book of all times. I thank you for the friend who introduced me to that long, long, long time ago. The Bible versus the Four Agreements. I think the Bible is a lot of, again, the don'ts, the I will be perfectly honest and transparent. I've never read the whole Bible, bits and pieces and Psalms of it, of course, and all the readings in church. But for me, Four Agreements compresses, simplistic. And that book, if you haven't read it yet, first chapter, kind of boring, but it's very important. It's all about your domestication and how we're programmed the way that we're programmed. Gina and Michelle, my sons Frankie and Mark, they were programmed the way that I was programmed until I got to that point where I can now go, wait a second, this doesn't resonate with me anymore. So now we can switch. So I apologize to all four of my children for all of that pre-programming that happened when you guys were younger until I saw the light, so to speak. But the domestication, first chapter, super good. The second chapter is actually your first agreement, and that's the be impeccable with the word, right? So um, the just how you speak to yourself, to others, it has vibration. Again, we go back to an energetic frequency. This is the science behind Reiki. It's an energetic frequency. The second one is not take things personally. Yeah, ooh, that could be a little tough for some of us when we're perfectionists. Or the third one is to not assume. So basically, use your throat. Ask those questions. Like, don't assume. Instead of confrontation, just ask for clarity. And then the fourth one of that one is always do your best. So yes, we can take parts of the Bible and match it up with these concepts of the four agreements.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was more so saying that like the Bible equivalent for spirituality is like the Four Agreements, but as the Bible is to religion. But yeah, I mean, for me, like I wouldn't even be doing anything for Shivers if I didn't read the Four Agreements. Like being such a perfectionist and like everything has to be perfect before I even attempt it or do it or anything. After reading the Four Agreements and just like as long as I'm doing my best, that's all I can do. As long as I'm speaking what I need to speak, as long as I'm kind but direct, that's all I gotta do. Like you want to talk about following the rules. Those are some easy rules to follow. So,
And they come from within, they're written in a textbook format, but it really when you start to the four agreements are literally for yourself.
mm,
you know Speak how you're going to speak, ask for clarity, don't assume, don't take things personally, even though it may be an external source that's creating this trigger inside of you. It's really the trigger inside of you that we have to look at that point.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
What's your story? What's your perspective? Tell me through all of these agreements.
Right, right.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that.
So, from the spiritual, we then sort of cross over to the threshold of paranormal.
Mhm.
So, what is your opinion and thoughts on the paranormal and anything else in that more stereotypical world?
As far as the paranormal, I think that, we have souls that have not actually crossed over. Um, again, we have this soul contract that we talk about, right? We have a start date. We already predetermined our end date We don't know how or when. It's all chosen for us if you believe in the soul contracts and the reincarnation thought process. But we're coming here, we're deciding when we're going to leave. If something happens and there is um, a change in that plan, so to speak, let's say it's an accident, it's something else. If there's unfinished business for the soul, again, the human stays here. Into dust we shall return, right? We either cremated, go into the ground, we still disintegrate regardless. Excuse me, the soul is eternal. Soul goes home, wherever you think home is, if you believe in heaven, hell, whatever the case may be. But the thought process here is that we, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought.
It's
Sorry
okay.
about that. So paranormal. So the spirit, sometimes our soul gets lost and needs to stay here to do unfinished business. Doesn't want to let go of the house, doesn't want to leave their particular significant other, whatever the case may be. So there's multiple reasons why a soul can get lost here on earth. Energetic frequency also. It could just not be the soul of that person, but the residual energy from that person in that household or Gina does an amazing presentation about the paranormal, and she talks about, Mary, who used to walk up and down the steps and walk up and down the steps, and her energy field is still there. So 2 o'clock in the morning, when the veil is the thinnest, right, 2 till 5, is you'll hear Mary going up and down the steps, but it's the energy that is residual energy. So it may not be her soul; she may have already crossed over, but the residual energy stays there. So yeah, that's
I guess you've
what
heard it enough.
the way.
I guess you've heard that enough.
I have. Yeah, I love that story, but it's true. Yeah, so there's multiple reasons why, and we go to cemeteries on a regular basis to help the lost souls cross over that, they may see their um cemetery plot and just really like, and some honestly, whoa, there's another good point. Some honestly, we've been taught that you go to purgatory, and that's done in the Catholic Church, right? You have to have prayers said for you upon your death so that you could cross over faster. And that, again, is that true? I don't know. I don't want to think that I'm going to go to purgatory and then have this judge and jury that says I'm either going to hell or going to heaven, right? My thoughts are it's unconditional love. You're going to go home with or without some of the stuff that you've done. You're going to do a life review. You're going to have some life review work once you get to the other side. And then you have to decide whether you're going to take that next lifetime to fix what you didn't fix in this lifetime. So, again, it's a concept, it's a philosophy, but yeah, there's lots of reasons why paranormal can happen. Um, yeah, unfinished business, just need to talk to my loved ones. I got to give one more message to them. So many, many, many reasons. But do I believe in paranormal? 100% I do.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, a lot of people want to do like paranormal investigations and group events and things like that. But what's not talked about is like how boring it can be because you're just kind of standing around waiting for something to happen. But yeah, I mean, I've found like my belief in spirituality was rooted in ghosts and knowing that there's ghosts around. And now it's almost flipped because now it's more of that residual energy that you feel. And like you go to places like Penhurst and it's just sort of like, oh, these are just it's people who were in the actual insane asylum and hospital and stuff like that. And like their souls are not here. It's just that residual energy of a location that doesn't know how to kind of clear it out.
Right.
So I've changed my tune a little bit, and that's why I don't necessarily like go after haunted locations as much as I would have assumed that I would at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think the paranormal is worth mentioning and considering.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
There's
but
definitely lost souls. I mean, the soul itself can get stuck. So, that's one of the tools that we have to help them to transcend and go home. So,
yeah. So, for everybody who's listening, I am my mother's biggest bully, and I force her to watch scary movies and go to scary places.
he does.
And so last year we went to Penhurst for the paranormal convention, and she was able to anchor archangelic light, which is that modality to kind of send any of those lost souls home. I'm interested from the perspective of Robert the Doll. So in 2021, we went to Key West, and I forced my mother to go to see Robert the Doll with me at Fort East Martello Museum, which is a Civil War fort in Key West, which is also where Robert the Doll is housed. So for me, the energy that's around Robert the Doll is way different than anything that I've experienced before. And I would more liken that to a curse of sorts. So I don't know, anything of your experiences with these places I've forced you to go, and also, what kind of spiritual stuff would you do if you had free reign in these locations?
I being at this Robert the Doll and this what is it called, Fort East Martello
Yeah.
Museum, being there in person, honestly, if I could go back there with free will to be able to change energy. I mean, I get it, it's a museum and it's an attraction, and but I gotta say, ooh, I have goosebumps right now. Robert the Doll scared the daylights out of me. That one was one, and I don't know if it's just a mental things because of the stories that Gina told me ahead of time. You can't take pictures. And as soon as we walked into the room itself, like Gina's camera just totally shut down. Like, I mean, you can't make that stuff up, right? Like it literally, I didn't even have my camera out. My phone was in my purse, shut down. I was not taking a chance. But Gina just wanted to take a picture of something else that wasn't even related to Robert the Doll. And she brought her camera out and nothing. So like, how do you can't make that up. There's energy frequency here, right? So if I had free will to be able to go in there and change energy, I guess I would feel the emotions of Robert the Doll and maybe try to help him heal himself where he's not so angry anymore. But I have to say, getting through that portion of the museum and then going into the Civil War part piece of it, we were walking up this steps, this circular staircase type thing, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of death and energies of some of the dead soldiers. It kind of took me out for a little bit. So that definitely would be a place where I would, because it was so sad, so heavy. I would absolutely go there and have those two pieces. Work on Robert the Doll for his own healing, but also those soldiers that were just suffering. Yeah.
That's fair. And you were a witness to my phone. It's not something that I.
I was a witness to your phone. Yeah, that was crazy. I wasn't even taking mine out of my purse. That was not even taking a chance. But yeah, I saw yours. And then that really, I mean, that was right in the very beginning. She opened up the curtain and we're at this one segment. I don't even remember what it was, but Gina's like, oh, look at that. And she was ready to take the picture, not even associated with Robert the Doll, because you can't take pictures of him, for those of you that don't know. But yeah, she phone was totally black. And then, of course, once we left that part of the museum, it was back on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's the same phone. This is not changed. It's the same phone. Same
Exactly.
phone. Yeah, crazy. So, yeah. Um, outside of kind of those paranormal experiences and that exposure from the actual horror movie and hard rock side of things, which is what I expose you to the most often, what would you say from your own opinion and also from a spiritual perspective from a movie, or I guess even a music video or anything like that? Like, what stands out to you in that area?
I think the horror movie that scared me the most, and it probably was at the age where I was as well, was Nightmare on Elm Street with the scissor hand guy. I don't even know his name because I block it out. That one scared me a lot because it was something where you had no control that because it came through your dreams. So that to me was this lack of control, I guess I want to say. And so I was just for months after that was afraid to go to sleep. Wasn't it Freddy Krueger that just came? So and I think that's why, because it's something that could potentially come when you have no control. The other thing that really scared me too recently was we went to see that Megan, right? AI is, to me, I don't know what it is. AI is just creepy. And we ended up, Dad and I watched a TV show last night, and it was an AI controlling these bombs, these drone bombs, or something like that, right? So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like this is the world of AI. And you think of Mad Max and how everything is destroyed, and I don't know. So in that regard, that's my own little fear, false expectations appearing real. But it's that lack of control. Like you have no control over this. If it happens, it happens. So instead of getting into the fear of it, I can I can go to the trust and say, okay, I know I have an end date, whenever that is, whatever that is, and I know that it'll be peaceful. So for me, I think the horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street, the AI stuff, the videos, the music videos that oh my gosh, screamo is one thing, right? When they sing, but then they scream, and it's that demonic voice. Yeah, and the one that really creeps me out the most is where he rips out his heart and he's just handing you a bloody heart. That to me, that's a bit much. Yeah,
So, oh, that one or the Russian one with the bear?
Russian one with the bear. I don't remember that one.
So they're at a kitchen table and there's like all the body parts on the table and they're eating the body parts. Or
Oh, yeah, honestly, I would just go. I'm going more with the drippy, bloody heart that's handed as he's screaming in this demonic voice. That's what I'm gonna. That's embedded here, Gina. Thank you.
Mhm. That is Thoughts and Prayers by our lovely hometown Motionless in White.
Yes,
But
I support them, but ooh, that one got to me.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, in terms of what you were saying too about like the fears of AI and the fears of the like not being in control. I think that that also bleeds into what my whole spiel is that all of these movies can reflect whatever we need to know about ourselves. And, if you've lost someone and you're dealing with a lot of loss, watching a ghost movie is going to be very cathartic for you. If you are, I don't know, have terrible parents and want to watch something that is like very Hansel and Gretel-esque, then you'll be able to kind of channel your fears of like how bad could it be. So for you who doesn't really like to drink or anything like that as well, that's all rooted from that same thing, from you don't like to lose control. So
Right.
do you think that that's like a relevant thing to present?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's absolutely nail on the head. It's uh it's definitely, yeah, it's not that I'm a control person, but I like to control myself,
Right.
right? So losing control, getting into the alcoholism, or like, I'll have a social drink, absolutely, but I know my limit. Because when I get beyond that, my mouth says things that I'm very sorry for. So I don't want to put myself in that situation anymore. So yeah, I would say that's relevant. The nightmares, worrying about things that'll come to me during the dreams or the nightmares. So yeah, it's a lack of control. I have no control of my body at that point in time. The Yeah, yeah, I think that's very valid.
Fair. So now that you have also done a number of the murder mysteries and
Mm.
watched some of these horror movies, what would you say is like your character? If you were to be in a horror movie or your own murder mystery, what character do you think that you would be?
Very interesting. And by the way, side note, if you have not done these murder mysteries yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend. They are so fun.
Mhm.
I got to dress as a scarecrow once. I got to dress as an oracle or a tarot reader once. Like, it's just fun. It's a real live game of Clue. So, and Gina writes them, and I got to say, as a mom, or just even not your mom, I'm super impressed by your writing. So if you've not done it yet, plug, do one of her murder mysteries. If I am to do a murder mystery, what would my character be? Do I have a choice of what my characters are?
I mean, every good story has archetypes. So You have like the wise woman, the survivor, the victim, the villain, the hero, um, the damsel in distress. You could be the witch in the woods. I don't know. Anything like that. Any mysticism, normality, anything in between.
Okay. Um, I think I like who I am now in my life. I'd probably go as myself, which would be, some people call me a witch, but I'm a good witch. So I only do good things. We're casting good spells, not any negativity spells, no black magic. But I like the thought of, yeah, I think I like the thought of the good witch, where, Wizard of Oz, the good witch Glinda, or although the last what was the name of that movie? Oz?
Wicked.
Wicked. Yeah, that one showed a whole new side to the Wicked Witch. So I kind of like her. She was very down to earth and tried to do good things, but just was misunderstood. So yeah, I kind of think I'll go with like a witchy vibe, but a good witch. Yeah,
Okay.
with good intentions.
That's fair. And
'Cause-
also, just to put that clarifier out, any of the spiritual work that either of us do does not involve spell casting at all. What's a good or bad? It's none. So, um, yeah, I would advise not doing that and staying away from people who do do that.
Nope, not in my wheelhouse.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
Even Glinda in Wicked, she's a good witch, but she wasn't very nice.
and that's my second part is then, I'm very story oriented, obviously, but I part of that spirituality of what we were talking about before of like if you're bad you go to hell, if you're good you go to heaven, how's it fare in between? It's all that matter of perspective. It's even look at my tattoos. Like this whole side of me is all like basic horror movies, and then this side is like non-horror horror movies. So we have Willy Wonka, Twilight Zone. We do have Glenda and Elphaba from Wicked, from Oz. The actual story, the book of Wizard of Oz, is a scary story. It's all these people who are missing these things and have to kind of go to this God of Oz to request all of these changes and things that they want. But from that perspective of good versus bad, you have to think back who's telling the story. Because if we're looking at just the beginning of Wicked, of the Wicked Witch is dead, the stupid green girl is gone, and now me, pretty and pink and popular, I'm
Mhm.
I'm the good one, right? Tell me I'm good.
Mhm.
Who's the story coming from? So
Right.
that whole idea of right versus wrong, I mean, that's the backbone of my book, even. We're following, I don't want to spoil it, but we're following this person who you can understand, who you agree with, who you absolutely understand that perspective, and then the ending gets kind of twisted on you, which has that moral dilemma of what is right, what is wrong. And all to say that there really is no right or wrong. There is no good or evil. It's just a matter of perspective.
Mhm. Yep. And the other message from that is you already have what's in,
Hmm.
right? The Tin Man looking for a heart, he already had it. The lion looking for courage, he already had it. So, and the scarecrow having a brain, like seriously, he already had it.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of rediscovering. And that's this human journey that we're on. Because we come here with a clean memory, even though we chose everything for ourselves. But as you go through the human life and human experiences and get the lessons, you'll get to that point of spiritual awakening that then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and now I remember who I am. Right. So it's almost that same concept.
Yeah, and you don't need a priest or a god or anybody to give you permission to do that. Like,
Right. Right. Because it's the man behind the curtain and it's not real.
mhm.
So it is truly identifying yourself. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, without getting into any other like paranormal or horror movies or anything, also thank you for your comment on the murder mysteries.
Oh, so good.
I do enjoy them. And, even my dad, who is incredibly logical and 1 foot into the spiritual, 1 foot still in all that other stuff that he was told what to do. Um, he even enjoys the murder mysteries.
He
So,
really does. He looks forward to it. Yeah. Because they're super cool. And he sits there with his little notepad trying to make notes and try to figure out who done it. So yeah, it's super cool to watch. Yeah.
yeah, but it's fun. So yeah, I mean, it is for everybody. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't. I'm not someone who's very theatrical or act like I love the stories, but I'm not an actor or performer by any stretch. And I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do. So there's no song or dance performances. There's no forced participation, I promise. Um, but yeah, there's gonna
And
be.
but when you do, it's super cool. Yeah, there was the last one, there was a woman, I mean, she definitely played the part, you know. And in each one of them that we've been in so far, there's a couple of people that really get into their character, and it's so fun to just be a part of it and to watch and to see how people come out of their shell during these as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's providing a space to just role play and have a good time and be part of a story, not just be a bystander like you are in everyday life.
right.
So, um, but yeah, so how do you feel about your children doing all of these different weird creative things? And even for me, how do you compartmentalize like that haunted stuff, the spooky stuff with that spiritual stuff? A lot of people, when I'm doing a lot of events and stuff at Souly, they'll be like, "Oh, you're the dark, your mom's the light," and I don't necessarily think that that's true, but from your own perspective, and even for like Mother's Day, any advice you have for other mothers who are kind of having to accept their wacky children?
I think my biggest advice and my biggest lesson in, again, four children all doing the same, are all doing very different things, but raised by the same person, is it's eye-opening to see how each, again, soul goes on their own journey. It gives me validation that, woo, this is truly their journey. Um, and I'll go back to that thought of soul contracts, right? I have my journey, and understanding this, that each of your children have their own soul journey. They have to find their passions. They have to. You can't find it for them, and support them in any way that you possibly can. You don't have to agree with everything that they're doing. My parents certainly didn't agree with everything that I was doing. But you know what? I found my passion and I'm living my passion now. And I just want that for my children. So I see my oldest in his business, and he is finding his passion. He's doing the things that bring him joy. Um, I see my second son with his family, and I never thought that he would be where he's at with the amount of joy that he has with that family. So it's really beautiful to watch. My daughter Michelle, which is Gina's twin, she's finding her passion, and I am totally in support of that. Living vicariously through her, actually, because she's doing something that I wanted to do since I was a kid. But it's just amazing to watch. And when we come to Gina, yeah, she does subject me to the horror movies and the some of those videos that I'm just like, huh, can't sleep that night. But do I support her 100%, because I see the passion in her eyes and I see the passion in your heart to be able to do these, and to be in a benefit of literally doing your murder mysteries with you.
Mhm.
It's so fun to do. I can't speak highly enough about these murder mysteries and her writing skills. And if you didn't have her book yet, um, that too. So yes, support your kids. That's my advice. Just support your kids. Know that they're on their journey. You cannot fix everything for them. That's a big and hard lesson, is that because of their soul journey, if you try to fix things and prevent them from learning the lessons that they signed up for, then they just kind of have to redo and redo and redo these lessons. So there's comes a certain point where you just kind of have to step back and say, "Ooh, as hard as this is for me to watch, there are lessons in this, and I can't steal their opportunity to learn their lessons that they signed up for." So sometimes it's really hard to watch and hard to step back and let them learn the hard way. But sometimes that's what has to happen. But once they learn it, they grow. We can learn a lot from nature and Mama Bird, right? She works really hard and uh, gets these eggs to open up and then runs and gets food and feeds them, feeds them, feeds them, feeds them. And then they grow. And then soon enough, the nest is big. And then what does she do? She goes, okay, it's time for you to fly. Nudges them out of the nest. They learn to fly. They spread their wings. If they fall, whoo, what happens? She jumps down, she gets them, she brings them back up to the nest. So it is okay. If they fall, get them, bring them back, and then encourage them to fly again. I've seen it over and over again. I have a nest nearby my office and just watching the little baby birds and learning to fly, but understanding the philosophy that she's always there to help until they get their wings to fly. And then they fly and she starts all over again. So it's a beautiful thing, nature. Pay attention, take a moment and support your kids and teach them to fly.
Fair.
Yeah.
Lovely. So, any final words on sort of that crosshold between spiritual, paranormal, horror, fear, any of the above?
I think it's all tied, right? And I love your analogy that the reason I was so scared of AI and so scared of Nightmare on Elm Street is it tapped into my triggers and my own. So the we all go back to the soul, you. It comes from within. So your own spiritual awakening, you make the decision, you choose. You choose spirituality, you choose religion. I mean, they're really saying the same thing, just in a different verbiage. Um, Paranormal, I think, is just energy. So Reiki is energy, healing is energy. Heal from within, and then you don't have these fears. Um, and I think there's a purpose for the paranormal. I think there's a purpose for the horror. I remember a long time ago you saying, watch people's expressions when they walk out of the movie. In the movie, they're all tense and tight and like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And sometimes like not even wanting to see. But then when they walk out, you're like talking to the person next to you, oh my God, oh, how are you? And it's a total release from the body. So yeah, I think it's very beneficial to have both. It's balance.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on here. Thank you for
Thank you
being
for
part of
having me.
it. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting the murder mysteries and all the events and things like that. And yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Bye.